Hey there, it's Drew. By now you might have seen my original sanitary tube welding video where I go into a lot of detail about every aspect of sanitary tube welding. Now in this video I'm going to focus in on one aspect of welding stainless pipe or tubing, that is back purging. Nearly every time you weld stainless pipe, you need to remove the atmosphere from the inside first. In this video I'm going to explain why it's done, show you how I do it, and go over all the products and tools that I use to purge. Towards the end, I'll give a quick shout out to the Flux coated filler wire that lets you weld stainless without a back purge. Let's get right into it. When molten stainless steel comes in contact with atmosphere, it oxidizes, causing carbide precipitation to form. But don't use that phrase at work. It's more commonly known as sugar. When sugar forms on the backside of your weld, that means you've lost stainless properties and weakened the weld, allowing it to rust and corrode, not to mention creates lumps and impurities that are unacceptable for food-grade applications. And that's why we purge stainless steel. We're simply pushing the atmosphere out of the tube before welding it. This is often done with argon, which is an inert gas, meaning it's not flammable. Can be done with nitrogen as well. Now, if you're welding scheduled pipe, you just want a strong weld. If you're welding an exhaust manifold, you want a weld that can withstand the high heats, the vibrations of the vehicle. But with sanitary tubing, strength isn't really our concern. We want the inside of that tubing to be as smooth and cleanable as possible. Sugar is very rough and a great place for bacteria to grow, so properly purging food-grade tube is critical. So I'll demo some tubing purges for you, and then I'll purge a piece of pipe. There's some minor differences, but the principle is the same. We're going to purge in a low point and out a high point. Argon is more dense than the air we're trying to push out, and beware of any places in the line where oxygen could get trapped. When welding sanitary tubing, your purge pressure is critical. If it's too high, that weld's going to be pushed out or concave on the inside. If it's too low, however, it'll be sunk in. When welding pipe, purge pressure isn't quite as critical. You just want that root to be as clean as possible. I like to use a dual flow meter like this one. That lets me run my torch gas and my purge gas off of the same bottle but on separate dials. This is a Victor, my favorite brand, but there's plenty of other cheaper options out there. I've linked a lot of the tools and consumables that I use daily in my Amazon storefront. That's linked down below. Check it out if you're interested. They're all organized into categories for you. I usually use compressed air hoses because they're heavy duty and easy to put my quick disconnects on. I can hook right up to my purge plugs or my bottle. But some guys just use poly tubing and masking tape. Nothing wrong with that. Used to do it all the time. Now, whether you're welding a short piece in the bench or an exhaust or a line that runs the whole way across the plant, the principle is the same. Like I said, purging in low, out high. You want to close off every opening or olet along the way, and you want to tape off every weld seam. Because not only does that affect your purge pressure, but even a weld seam can suck in enough oxygen to color or sugar a weld. I use electrical tape for that. As you can see, I put it on backwards so I can easily take it off and it doesn't leave a sticky residue, but it does seal the weld. And I also like to use a diffuser like this one on my gas hose. It disperses the argon as it enters the tubing. If you don't use a diffuser, the argon can shoot right past your first weld and air will get trapped at the beginning of your line.
Here's a quick sketch of an imaginary line that runs across a plant and how I might purge it. I'll pick a low point to purge into, whatever that is. I'll disconnect the valve and put my exhaust at this high point. Now we have a good purge on the header, but oxygen is still trapped in all the drops. So once all the welds are made on the header, I can block off this exhaust and exhaust out one of the other drops. Now I need to go through one at a time and switch the exhaust to the drop that I'm welding on. It's a good idea to check it with a meter each time before welding, especially on long runs like this. There's a lot more variables. There could be an open valve or a T off to somewhere else, for example. One thing you want to watch out for on existing lines, in older plants especially, traps in the piping or just sagging pipes where water or CIP chemicals can be trapped, not allowing your purge to flow past. So you always want to feel your purge, make sure it feels good and consistent, and also check it with a meter. This is my sniffer from Forensic Detectors. I use it for tank entry, but I can also turn off the alarms and install the probe and check the O2 levels inside of the pipe that I'm purging. You can see the O2 level dropping. I try to get that real close to zero, if not zero, before welding.
And the same thing goes for welding pieces in the bench. Once it's purged completely, you can move it around and flip it back and forth to make welding easier. You're not going to lose your purge once it is purged. There are charts out there that'll tell you how long a piece of pipe needs to purge and at what CFH based on its length and diameter. It's probably best to just learn by experience. If your weld's coming out a little dark, then just wait longer next time. You can also use heat tape, put it on the end of your tubing, and you can look inside after you've welded it to see what it looks like.
There are lots of purging kits out there and products made by individuals or companies. These are mine from purgeplugs.com. It has 1.5 through 4-inch purge plugs with a blank and an exhaust for each size. Has an aluminum purge tree and a back purge. Adjustable back purge sends the argon through the small pipe out these little holes and exhausts out the holes in this aluminum block. It's great for welding short ferrules on a straight run. Short ferrules get too hot to use a purge plug or even heat tape. Speaking of ferrules, I've made 1-inch through 4-inch purge spools. They have a ferrule on one end and they connect with these aluminum rings and a hose clamp. A local machine shop made these aluminum rings so that I can clamp several ferrules together for purging or clamp several pieces together for weld out. They are airtight. Now if you're interested, I can have more made and ship them to you. DM me for details. The same goes for these custom brass purge trees. Purge trees are great for spinning out small fittings or valve bodies. The brass ones spin a little bit easier than the aluminum ones. However, they hold their heat for literally ever. I can send those out to you as well. Just let me know. If you're purging in a tight spot, you can always plug holes and cover ferrules with aluminum foil. I keep the thick commercial grade foil on hand for that purpose. Heat tape is another good product to keep around because it's fairly heat resistant and lets you take a look inside the pipe at your root. Foil tape is another go-to and is somewhat heat resistant. However, a lot of time you'll be able to just use plain old masking tape or painter's tape. I buy these in bulk from Amazon. The masking tape is a little less sticky, so I use it on weld seams or anywhere I don't want to leave sticky residue. The painter's tape is a little more adhesive, so I often use it to tape in my purge hose or tape off any openings.
A lot of people get caught up asking exactly what CFH I run on the flow meter, but remember that's not the only variable. Your exhaust opening also dictates your purge pressure. You can purge any given pipe at 5 or 25 CFH as long as your opening corresponds. The only difference will be in the time that it takes to push out all of that oxygen at 5 versus 25 CFH. On larger purges, you can blast the argon as high as you like until the oxygen is all gone. Now, some guys will tell you to make a hole the size of a watermelon in your exhaust. I disagree with that though, because we're actually limited to how much gas can flow through the hole in your regulator. There's no use in having a giant hole on this end if you can only move so much gas through this end to begin with. You can argue in the comments that the only thing that matters is once you're done speed purging, you turn it back down to a reasonable level. I will often lick my knuckle and feel the purge, or just lick my lips and put my mouth up to it. By checking it the same way every time, you know what a good purge feels like, so if something's off, if you're leaking a little bit somewhere, you'll be able to tell before you even start welding. So purge pressure isn't quite as important for schedule pipe. You just want that root to be as clean as possible. Masking or painter's tape is often all you need. You can leave a little viewing window with heat tape in the end of your pipe to check out your root. If it's an open root weld, obviously you want to tape off that joint and peel back the tape as you weld it. You can also ball up aluminum foil to close off an outlet. It's worth mentioning that there are flux-covered stainless filler wires for welding stainless without a back purge. These can also be known as mud rods or dirty rods. This brand is Cormet. It is challenging to weld with because of how dirty that flux-filled puddle is, not to mention it leaves a slag inside the pipe that you can't get out unless you can reach it. Not ideal for every situation, but applications like large stainless vent piping, flux-coated TIG wire can be a time saver and argon saver. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a full-length video on flux-coated wire welding, or if you'd like to see how I clean and polish my sanitary welds, or something entirely different. I hope you found this video helpful. If you didn't, be sure to not subscribe. That is the best way to let me know you don't want any more stainless pipe or tube welding videos. Leave your questions in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram. Don't forget to check out my Amazon storefront linked down below, where I have most of these products organized in one place. I hope you learned something. But till next time, I'm Drew, and I'm Welding America.